Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
Hey, it's Wendy Babcock back with One Stories, and today I have Megan with me. Hi, Megan, welcome.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So I just want to have you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do.
So, my name is Megan. I call myself the accidental matriarch. I'm an author, I'm an emerging speaker, and I'm a grief and logistics coach and mentor. And what does that mean? So, I take my background in therapy and chaplaincy and education, and I bring it to all of the paperwork of preparing for emergencies and end of life when you're in it and you're losing someone or you've had that diagnosis that's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And settling your person's affairs. My first book just published, my debut. It is a practical workbook and planner, a new path. So it literally takes the practical and brings in ritual, spiritual practice, grief support, so that you can feel a little less alone in the journey. And then if you want support beyond that, I can bring that individually.
I love it. I'm so excited about your book. And it's interesting because at first I'm like, well, I've already lost my parents, but like, that's not all it's for. It's not just for when you lose your parents. Like, it's
Yeah,
the expected things.
it's interesting you say that, Wendy. Somebody that was one of my endorsers, who's also a therapist and has a spiritual background, called me and said, or texted, was like, "Do you have a few minutes?" I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "I need to grieve. Every year I procrastinate doing my adult son's paperwork. He's schizophrenic and autistic, and he lives in a residential facility." And she said, "I always shamed myself because I thought there was something wrong with me. And then because I read your book and I was an endorser, I never thought, oh, his paperwork, I'm grieving.
Yeah.
He's not going to have the life that I thought. He's not going to get married. What's going to happen when my husband and I can't care for him anymore?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all those unexpected life things, and I think it's just a good book to have on hand, to be honest. I mean, whether you have somebody sick or it's not when you expect things, right? That's not when that's a thing.
Usually that's how it is,
Right,
not quite what I was planning. How
right,
often could that be somebody's tagline?
right. Yeah, not what I was planning. Exactly. So let's talk. So you're also a therapist.
I
So,
am.
so how does that play into everything else that you're doing?
So it really informs what I'm doing. And so I see the world, I look at the behaviors, the processes, the invisible pieces of what's going on. And so I come at it from what's happening here? But also from this heart place of like with this compassion. And I think we get task oriented, especially with stuff like paperwork. And sometimes we just need to slow down and allow ourselves to feel the feelings.
Yeah,
My therapist self says, let the feelings rise, crest, and fall.
I love that.
And then they go,
Yeah.
then they go, and it's okay.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I feel like my sister and I, when we lost our mom, because that my we excuse me, we had already lost our stepdad and our biological father. So my mom, when she passed, my sister and I kind of split into different roles. I was the emotional griever, and she was the paperwork, let's get shit done person. So we balanced each other really well because she's not an overly emotional person, and I'm not a great task oriented person. So like for us, we were the yin and yang, and it worked perfectly to get all of her affairs settled, and that was great. But I also find that I feel like she didn't fully process the grief because she was the person in charge of the affairs.
Yeah. So that is something that people talk about
Yeah.
often related to that. And because I'm who I am, I'm more like you.
Yeah.
And yet I had to do these tasks. So I actually grieved while I did the tasks. Like I started to build time in to be like, you're going to have to cry when you do this. Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, if you watch my one story, there's that pivotal moment where I talk about the big tears falling
Yeah.
down. But the permission to grieve while doing it was so huge. And it was
Yeah.
also like, oh, what if we were to build this in and people were to build this in? Speaking of, someone watched the one story and kind of in an outer network of mine and messaged and was like, I was weeping in the car after sending in my parents' final tax return or something like that. And then I had to go back to work and I thought, what was wrong with me? And I watched your one story and it was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it's funny how those waves will hit you sometimes when you're not expecting it and you're not tying the moments together with maybe why, what's internally triggering it, like you did, right? So they'll listen to the people listening to the podcast right now. You're going to hear Megan's one story right after this interview. So, pay attention to the part where she's talking about selling off some of her dad's stock and stuff, because and then
That
you
was,
had that aha moment, like, no wonder.
yeah, I mean, it was a huge, in my world, I call that like a grief burst of
Yeah.
like, woo, it's just here. And so much, if people have grieved anything, they talk about, it feels like it comes like a wave, it knocks them out, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like depression in this, like, I'm in it every day and it's
Yeah.
depressive feelings are part of it, but grief itself, like, it's just like, wow, where did that big feeling come from?
Yeah. It's so fascinating. So after my mom passed, we had inherited her home, and my husband and I moved into it, and I felt like I couldn't paint and do enough to make it my own. But I finally had to come to that realization where it's never going to be my own, because she built the home, and she built it only three years prior to her passing. And I remember, like, every time I paint something, I had such tremendous guilt. Like, I
Yeah.
was changing the things she built, and I really struggled. And once we ended up moving out of the house and moving somewhere else. I'm just like, I finally felt at peace again, because I wasn't trying to change everything. And I had that aha moment. Like, I was really struggling through that grief back then. Like, I really, whew, it was rough.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Wendy. Yes. And I mean, exactly. I think how often are people like, hey, what's wrong? Like, I'm just painting a thing. Why am I feeling this massive
Oh
guilt right
yeah.
now about this? Like,
Yeah.
I should be able to, or I should be able to make this, or I should, lots of should. We should ourselves
Yes.
so much in grief, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so I think, what you're doing, tying in like the paperwork things and all the task oriented things with the emotional side is really, really important, because I don't ever want to be in that position. I know eventually someday I'm sure it's going to happen. But so your talk and everything that you're bringing to the surface for people, and especially the accountants, the lawyers, the bankers, all the people that are in the task-oriented side of settling, people's estates. I hope they listen to your talk and get a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my dream come true, I guess, to say, and it's not to discredit, I want to honor and respect the work that they do.
Yeah.
And if you attend to this grief that's here, it might
Yeah.
make for an easier process for everybody.
Yeah. And
Gosh.
and real quick, I think you'll get a not a giggle, but kind of. So it's been years. My mom passed in 2020, and this happened last fall. I had to call her bank, her investment banker and stuff, and I had to move something around. And so I was expecting the gentleman I usually work with to call me back. But instead, it was my mom's banker that she had worked with, Linda. And literally, as soon as I heard her voice on the phone, I just lost it. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm so sorry. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I just bust out in tears, because it was like such a reminder of my mom. And she's like, and she was so sweet. She's like, Wendy, I understand. It's okay. But I'm like, oh, when you're not expecting that voice, because she was so sweet. She came to my mom's surface, the whole thing. So she was an extension of my mom. But
absolutely.
for her as a banker, not to get annoyed with it, or just to kind of give me that space in that moment, was just so sweet.
Oh, to witness you and validate and understand.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Those are like the top three because people are like, well, I don't know how to be with people. I'm like, well, really just let them feel their feelings and
Yeah.
witness it and let them know they're not crazy. Like
Yeah.
that it's okay.
Yeah. And I never understood the saying, hold space, until
Yeah.
right around then, because she really did. She held space for me in that moment.
Yeah. And I think all of
So,
us, you asked about my therapist self. I think all of us can hold space. And I think that's one of the things that I hope my work brings that you don't have to send somebody to a counselor or a therapist necessarily.
right.
Yes, yeah, we are here. We are here
Right.
to be with people. I am here to be with people. And it's also okay to just hold space and offer some compassion and say, I hear you, I see you.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I love what you're doing and what your book is doing for people. I hope everyone rushes out and buys it. So it will be in the show notes. We'll make sure that is there
Awesome.
for whoever's listening. So let's walk me through, like, what was the process? So obviously you did your one story. what made you kind of say, yes, I want to put this out there for the world to hear? Because it's a difficult decision for a lot of people to say, I'm going to take this painful thing and put it on a stage. So walk
So,
me through that.
um, well, I saw your post on Facebook, kind of, I guess something was like, hey, we have one more, something like that.
Yeah.
And it felt like, I mean, if you listen to my Wen story, this will not sound like a shocker because early on I'm like, look up to God and I'm like, God, da 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 da. So I felt like I heard the universe be like, think about this.
Wow.
So I took it in and I sat with it. And the timing of the publishing and the timing of the Wen made me really nervous, which I
Mhm.
remember speaking with you about
Yes.
in the original, like, hey, is this for you? Like, are you for me? Am I for you? Is this going to work?
Yes.
And you were like, I think that this could be okay. And I think it was my intuition's way of helping me not lose myself in the publishing because
Mhm.
having to work on the Wen story, having to come back, even when the some of my publishing deadlines meant I couldn't be part of the coaching mid progress,
Yep.
I could come back and listen. I could come back and look at the notes. I could use Marco Polo, which is awesome.
I love it.
Talk to you, and it made me come back to me and my voice and myself and say, wait a second, that's actually why I wrote this. Like,
Yes.
there's something more happening here. And, the when was really the gift that got me to see. I mean, yes, my book is here. It's the love letter. Please go out and get it. Please contact
Yes.
me. I want to support you. But more than that, doing that was me learning how, like, owning how creativity, writing, finding meaning and purpose, finding beauty in the midst of ashes, in the midst of rubble, in the midst of loss, that's part of what I am about as a human and what I bring to the world. And
Wow.
your Wen story and like the way you structure it, Wendy, and the way you say, right, we don't want to stay in this place. We want to get to where you got to.
Right.
Want to string that together, but we also don't want to like give a false, we don't want to just go like a light switch. It's more like a seed
Right.
or the little breadcrumbs. So
Right.
it's like all of it together. And so it just felt like a divine timing. And I felt a sense of yes. And I felt a sense of this is a stretch, but the right next stretch.
Right. Oh, I love that. The right next stretch. I love that. I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
So real quick, so how has it been after, right? So you give this talk, it's emotional. There's like a release that most people have after they tell the story. Like, what's it been like since?
It's been a whirlwind. And I think part of it has been because of the timing and all of that. But the other whirlwind has been if you watch my story, you will see me be maybe the most alive I've ever been. Like
Uh,
I'm just standing there on the stage and I just felt in this sense of clear, compassionate confidence that
mm.
day. I felt in the flow. It felt alive and vibrant. And I was like, oh, I like this.
And you looked gorgeous. So the first one of the first photos I got back from the photographer was this power pose. You have your arms out on standing on stage. I'm like, that is freaking powerful. That's on the website now.
And it's like I planned it, but I didn't. You didn't,
Right.
and I didn't plan it. It's a completely candid shot.
Yep.
And so, I mean, from like I've been thinking a lot about how this experience has been like a butterfly experience
Oh,
because
yes.
it did feel like, in the depths of not just the deaths of my parents and the estate,
Right.
but like what that meant for me, that I
Right.
surrendered to the grief journey, which like you become goo.
Yeah.
Before you get your wings, you're goo.
Yes.
And so like the one was like, oh, I've got wings now.
Yeah, I love it.
And then it's like, oh, okay, what if speaking is part of where this is headed for me?
Right.
Bringing my voice in that way beyond the page to the stage. And
Mm.
um I just like that's literally it's springtime here in Pennsylvania. I'm looking out. I have this beautiful but pain in the butt locust tree right outside the window of the computer. And it's like doing, what the trees do, which is bursting right now. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened from when. And so the month after has been like, I'm bursting, but I wasn't planning on this at all.
I love that. That's such a great analogy, and I love going from the goo to the bursting.
I love it too. And, Wendy, I didn't think of it till just this minute, but, you know, in 2022, obviously many, not quite what I was planning,
Right.
but also the when. I thought when was the end of I think it's just the beginning.
Oh, I love that. That gave me goosebumps.
And so,
Yeah.
when I am my most self when I write, I have a ritual and a process where I ask when I'm writing what wants to be written. And
Ooh,
ask to be written through, that I be like open to what wants to come together. And I feel like that, like, okay, something's happening now with me. What wants to come through me? And when kind of open that to be like, I'm not quite sure where this speaking thing is going to go, but we'll see.
yeah. Explore it.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, you belong on stage. Just going back and even watching, being there in person and then getting to watch your premiere. I'm just like, you were made for the stage.
it feels like that. And, full self disclosure, 30 years ago, I was on the stage. I
Okay.
was a theater kid.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Maybe some of that came through, and I think when you watch it, you can see some of that kind of shine through, but in an authentic way. It's not like I'm following a script way. It's very authentic, which I really enjoyed about your talk.
Thank you. It feels,
Mm.
more so than at like 16 or 17 or
Of
whatever.
course.
Like, oh, yes. But that's sort of, oh, there's something here about this way of communicating and being with people.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you so much for jumping on the interview with me. Everyone who's listening, Megan's one story is going to play right after this. And I know you're going to enjoy it. And again, all of her information is going to be in the show notes. But real quick, Megan, how can people get in touch with you if they're curious about either working with you, bringing you to speak, buying your book?
All of the above. So you can
Yes.
always, email me at Megan at a-new-path.com. Go to the website. That's the same website, A New Path. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but the best communication back and forth is all of that. I have a schedule page on my website where you can go 15 minutes or a longer call. So any and all of that.
Perfect. And those will be right in the show notes. So they'll be easily to be clickable to get a hold of Megan. So thank you again, Megan. I just appreciate you and your story so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Such a joy.
Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
When everything changed, my email pinged. I was expecting the email. It was from the social worker at my dad's retirement community. Megan, we are so very sorry to read that your dad is on a ventilator. And I am also very sorry to say our copy of his advance directive is also not notarized. I do not know how this happened. How could she not know how this happened? Her job was to have the paperwork for my parents so that I could be the daughter and not the person that constantly needed to be on top of everybody else's things. I stepped away from the computer and time kind of did what it does. I don't really know. I know I started pacing around our house. I know that I was barefoot because I can remember the feeling of the hardwood floor. And somewhere instinctively, I started tickling the hardwood floor with my toes. And my breathing started to slow. And I returned to myself. I literally looked up to the ceiling and I cried out, God, I don't know what to do. Please, please help me. Almost instantly, the name of my dad's attorney popped into my mind. I returned to the computer, went to Google, typed in his name, found the number. My hands were kind of quivering. I had my cell phone and I dialed. I was not expecting a live human to pick up the phone, but he did. The attorney barely said good mo, and words gushed out of my mouth. Hi, my name is Megan Malick, and I'm Guy Malick's oldest daughter. And yesterday he was put on a ventilator, and I don't have a notarized advance directive. I need to get that from you, and we have to put power of attorney in place. And the attorney cut me off. I still feel the chill. His words were so calm, so even. It felt almost cold. Megan, I'm so sorry to hear what's happening with your father. I do not have a notarized copy of his advance directive. There is no power of attorney paperwork. Your father has your mother's real will. I need to talk to you about that. Since her death last month, we need to start working on. That's about where I kind of was listening and I kind of wasn't. I don't know if you're familiar with Peanuts and Charlie Brown, but this is what I heard. Wah, 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 tax. Wah, 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 retirement account. Wah, 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 due. Wah, 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 9 months. Okay, great. We hung up the phone and I just felt speechless. I literally felt like I was a kindergarten student. I had my backpack and my lunch pail, and I was looking for my shape so that I could hang my things up. But the teacher that talked to me was expecting me to defend my doctoral dissertation. To say that there was a disconnect would be an understatement. I felt like I was in an alternate reality or a parallel universe. How had my life changed so significantly in a month's time? If this were a movie, we would flash back to last month, to a beautiful, crisp, cold January day in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm making a cup of honey lavender tea. I'm talking to my dad on the phone, and he says, "Do you want mom to call you after her shower?" And I say, "No, I have a full day of clients. I'll give her a call later." I go upstairs. I look out the windows that face north. I light a candle. I say a prayer to the divine, asking to be open to the spirit in my sessions with clients. And I work what is one of the absolute best days of my entire career as a therapist. I had 3 back-to-back sessions, and each one was so powerful, so alive. It was electric. I felt so congruent. I came down the stairs for lunch, and my spouse, Joe, was standing at the bottom of the stairs. And he said, "You need to call your dad." And in that moment, I knew. My mom's dead, isn't she? His eyes teared. That was the first time the tidal wave of grief crashed into me, and I collapsed into his arms, weeping. That feeling of being crashed into and knocked off of my feet, that's the same feeling I had the morning that I received the email from the social worker. It's the same feeling I had talking to the attorney. It's the same feeling I had throughout the entire process. For me, acute grief feels something like this. Giant, enormous wave knocks Megan off of her feet. She becomes upended. Feels like something inside is being ripped apart. Then a live current of panic courses throughout my entire body, and I feel like I'm a live wire. Like, don't touch me, or I could maybe shock you to death. Or something inside of me is being shocked to death. It was uncomfortable being in my own skin. That feeling was with me every drive to the hospital. It was with me as I tried to figure out how to pay the bills for Dad, how I tried to figure out how to pay taxes for Dad. It was with me when my sisters and I made the hardest decision of our lives to let Dad go. It was with me when I stepped into the role of estate administrator. I couldn't touch a piece of paper without this darn feeling. By the fall of 2022, I'd been parentless for 6 months, and I had become very aware that I needed to boundary the time of working on the estate and the logistics related to my parents from the rest of my life. My grief needed tending. I needed time and space to return to me. I also was very aware that the people in the systems seemed just a little disturbed by the fact that I might demonstrate even a drop of grief. So I always felt like I needed to ask grief to wait outside of my meetings so that I could show up as the calm, cool, collected, professional Megan. And if I'm really, really honest with you, a part of me resented my deep primal grief too. The therapist in me, the one that's been trained to do this stuff with people, the one that's walked with people, officiated at funerals, has been by many a person's bedside when they've died. That part of me was shocked at how very little the help that I had to offer helped. Then something magical happened. I was sitting down to the computer in November to sell stock on Ameritrade. The financial advisor had said we needed to harvest losses for the end of the tax year and the estate process. So I logged on like the dutiful administrator that I was, and I started to get ready to click, and I felt that grief feeling coming toward me. And I decided to just let it flow. Big, fat Hollywood tears started to roll down my cheeks. I can remember them plunking on my computer keyboard. And I watched as you clicked sell and it would go bloop and it would just disappear. And I had to do this over and over again. I was weeping and selling Ameritrade stock at the same time. And then I started to actually laugh a little because I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder this is so hard. I'm like literally watching my dad disappear before my eyes. He picked each of these. Every time I do this, I'm making more real that my dad is dead. Every time I'm doing anything related to my mom's retirement account, I'm making more real that she's dead. No, there's nothing mundane about any of this. This is a really sacred process that I'm doing. No wonder it's so laborious. No wonder I feel so deeply. My body and brain are trying to make sense of the unsensible. In less than 3 months, I'd lost both my mom and my dad, and I was now the matriarch of the Malick family at only 45. This is not what I planned for my 2022. No wonder. Oh, well, that epiphany was life-saving. It was like, oh, your heart and your soul, that which is most true to you, you thought you needed to keep that separate from this? No, they actually get to come into this process. And better than that, they're going to lead. And they did. For the rest of the estate process, my heart and my soul led me. My heart and soul intuitively knew how to live through those giant waves and those panic surges. My heart and my soul knew how to juggle the role of estate administrator with the profound grief and loss. Most of all, and maybe most importantly, my heart and my soul intuitively knew that that raw primal grief belonged to the little girl living in me, the one who'd lost her mommy and her daddy, and that she needed room to grieve. She'd been told by the world that she was too much, too sensitive, too big of a heart, that she needed to harden up and she would never make it. Well, my heart and my soul knew that wasn't true. I got to hold her and say, your sensitivity is sacred, and your grief is too. My heart and my soul are my gifts to the world. And as I learned to claim that and my grief, I started to write more. Now, those who know me know I've actually written my whole life. This is not a shocker. This is not a mic drop moment. But what is the mic drop moment is how public my writing became. You see, my heart and soul needed my story to be out there, not for me, but for all of the other accidental matriarchs out there like me, who felt lost and alone and confused and like something was really wrong with them. So on the second anniversary of my mom's death, I started a Substack newsletter entitled The Accidental Matriarch. I'd also started writing another project, and that's because several of my friends were following behind me. They were also losing their parents and being cast in this role, and they were asking me what to do. And well, I was so bogged down in my grief, there was very little I felt I could do, but I started to write and send them things. And they said, oh my gosh, this is really good. You should do something with this. So I did. I wrote the book I wish I would have had. My book is my love letter to all of you out there who are tasked with the Herculean chores of settling someone's affairs and living with all of the grief. I needed you to know you are not crazy if it feels like it's a lot, because it is. And I founded a new path to make loud to the world that your grief is not pathological and it is not a disorder. In fact, when you are allowed to feel and process your grief, your body and your brain start to heal. More than that, your grief doesn't need to be separate from the paper. It will be with the paper. Whether you're planning well ahead, you're at the end of life with someone, or you're settling your person's affairs, you will feel grief. We cannot separate our hearts from our heads, our paper from our personhood, our love from our grief. They are inextricably connected. Friends, there is not a get out of grief card, not for any of us, not even this professional who thought she could probably self-help her way out of feeling it. If you have love, you will have grief. We grieve when we lose who and what we love. When we feel it and face it, we don't get over it, but we integrate it. We deepen, we grow. And for all of my heart-led and intuitive folk out there, those of us who've been told we're too much, we're too sensitive, we're too empathetic, I'm just here to say that is our gift to the world. You know, I can feel probably the full piano range of emotions, all 8 octaves. I've been able to do that my whole life. When I started being the estate administrator, I thought that was my biggest liability. It was actually my best asset. Being able to fully feel my feelings and allow them to move through my body allowed me to release things, to process things, to not hold them on. Best of all, it made more space in me to feel more love, more compassion, more gratitude, more joy. To be able to feel joy and grief at the same time. Yes, I can do both. And so can you. Our hearts are strong, people. They are strong. When everything changed, when everything changed. When everything changed, I'd already accepted that I was a big heart and soul person, and I knew grief. I knew I accepted my heart and soul, but I did not celebrate it. When everything changed, I desperately longed to hold on to that person who worked the best day of her career the morning her mother died. I wanted to go back to being her. I didn't want to surrender to the grief journey and the transformation that encountering grief entails, but I did. I think my friends may have sensed my resistance, Some of my closest friends and colleagues challenged me that I might have been avoiding my grief by writing, by publishing a book, and by founding a new business. My heart and my soul knew that wasn't true. But what I didn't know until just last week, when a new path officially published, is why. I knew part of my grief process was being worked out. I thought I was honoring my parents' legacy. And that's important, but that's not why. I was learning to live my legacy. You see, the work of settling someone's affairs is taking things apart. It's dissolving things. It's disintegrating things. Well, I'm a professional healer. I'm all about bringing things together and integrating, and I'm creating. So I needed to create something in this space to hold on to me, to preserve me, to reclaim me. I needed to find something beautiful in all of the bureaucratic red tape and the destruction. I needed to see beauty. I needed to show the world that in the places and spaces where you think beauty doesn't exist, it can be found, that you can be beautiful, that we can be beautiful. I needed to begin embodying and modeling for all of us the words of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She said, "The most beautiful people that we know are those who have known destruction. They have known suffering, struggle, loss, and they have found their way out of the depths." These persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion, gentleness, and deep, loving concern. Beautiful people do not just happen.
Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.